Hi guys, welcome back to Well Without the BS. I'm so excited to be talking about this topic today. I honestly wasn't really too sure about what to talk about this week. For this week's topic, we're going to talk about the five types of wealth. And honestly, I was pretty inspired by another podcast that I'll be linking down below. Um, and if you guys are super into like investing and stuff like that, I feel like this is a really good podcast, especially for women. It's called Girls That Invest. I need to do a double check on that because I'm pretty sure it's Girls That Invest. Um, but the girl that talks about it, her name is Simran, I believe. And she talked to a man called Sahil Bloom. I could be completely saying his name completely wrong, but he really touched on some important topics about five types of wealth. And I thought this was so important because for me, and especially as I've gotten older, I've really valued time so much more than ever before. And that is one of the types of wealth that I'll kind of get into. And I think that's one of the types of wealth that I'll probably touch on the most, just because it's one of the types of wealth that I just value the most. But the five types of wealth are social wealth, financial wealth, physical wealth. You have uh, mental wealth, and what's the last one? Oh my goodness, why can't I remember? It's social, mental, physical, time. I think that was all of them. And they kind of just talked on like implementing a little bit of all of these, and all of these can, come in seasons of your life and what you kind of prioritize. Um, However, I just feel like for me personally, I feel like time is just so important because it's one thing that you'll never get back. So I just think, in retrospect, when you're thinking of it, when you're putting in any type of work and you're putting in, you know, putting any ounce of effort into something that you want to do into the future, even if it's going to take you a little bit longer to get to where you want to go, like taking in just that little extra step just to get to where you want to go, even if it's that your external environment doesn't look the way it wants to at the moment, just taking that one little tiny step to get there. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, time is one thing we don't get back. However, if you do take one action a day or whatever the case is, you might be there in 5 years or in two. You know what I'm saying? I think another reason why I value time so much is also because, you know, who's to say, like, in, the next few years, or, when I'm 80, because we're not going to take everything with us when we pass along or whatever the case is. We only have so much time with our loved ones. So I think just really remaining present and allowing ourselves to understand what we do value and asking ourselves what we do want out of our lives and who we want to really spend our time with. And I think that's just like so important. And asking ourselves like I said, who we want to spend our time with, who is going to add to our lives, and who we could potentially see ourselves, growing with. You know what I'm saying? Um, because at that point, you know, it's just, I don't want to say wasted time because, each person could be adding to your life. I'm kind of getting off topic here a little bit. But each person could be, a learning lesson or whatever the case is. Or, each person could be going through a season, like I said, and they could be there forever or temporary. Um, but or you can choose to grow with them. You know what I'm saying? But all in all, yeah, I just think that time is really one of the most valuable besides health. Health and mental health are also one of the most important ones as well. You know what I'm saying? If you continue to pour into your health, you'll be able to ex- exponentially grow and pour into the things that you want to become better at so that you can, you know, speed up your process of where you want to go. If you're feeling really sick one day or really shitty or whatever the case is, take care of yourself and, you know, take that time to feel better or get get whatever you need so that you can get the results, expedited. Because if you're, really sick and, you know, it's pushing along your process where you're not going to be able to, you know, expedite whatever you're trying to achieve, then your process is just going to take that much longer. So I think that your health is one of the most important as well, and also pouring into your mental health as well. Um, educating yourself, reading books, learning new things, questioning yourself and others, and questioning, things that you've learned from, since you were a child. Questioning if this is the way you want to live, questioning, even if, the way your parents lived is the way you want to live, because we don't always have to follow the way they did things. We can change. We don't have to stick to the same standard, if that makes sense. Um, but I think learning about these new things and the five types of wealth is so important, and just taking little parts and pouring into them and doing whatever you can to pour into the five types of wealth is just so important and will help push you further along into your life. And I know that learning about this will definitely help me in my future. Oh my gosh, I just hit the mic. Um so yeah, I don't know. I think that if we're able to use use this, I think it will definitely be able to help out a lot of other people. I think a really good example of how, and another thing that was mentioned in the podcast I was listening to is that, you know, I think we expect that things have to be balanced. And like I said, everyone is in their own specific season. You know what I'm saying? So some people may prioritize certain things at their certain point of life. Some people may really prioritize their financial um, wealth, and they might be in that type of season, and they might be in their financial and health and mental season, and they're really prioritizing that, and they're not really in their social season. Um, and it all, I think, also happens in certain stages of our lives as well. I think in our 20s, we're really establishing who we are and what we want to be. And I think I'm definitely learning that right now. I really want to build on that financial wealth and really take that along with me into longer years, and that is just like a whole other thing. And I'm learning more about like investing, and I'm definitely not the person to even talk about that because I'm learning about that. So um but I just think that that is a great tool to learn about. And if you're into learning about that and you know more about me, please hit me up because I am trying to learn as much as possible because it's time to get our money up, literally. Um, but yeah, I think that yeah, everyone is in their own certain season, and maybe when, we're a little bit younger, we're in our social season, or older, like, late 20s or 30s, we might be able to prioritize being in our, I don't know, social season and, other seasons as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on mostly, and the five types of wealth. And I think that you guys pretty much get the gist of what I'm trying to explain. And I think that this topic is so interesting. And I will be sure to link both Simran and Sahil. I'm so sorry if I messed up both of their names, but they're both great resources. And um, yeah, they both give out great information and talk about some really great topics. So I will be back soon with another podcast video. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good one.